This video is about the ideas of change over time. So one of the earliest people to recognize that organisms were changing was Carolus Linnaeus. And so Linnaeus is actually responsible for developing the binomial system of nomenclature. So he was the one that came up with this two-name system, and that's a system that we still use today with names such as Homo sapiens and things like that. You have the two-name system. So Linnaeus, he did not ascribe similarities between species to evolution. So he thought they came from something different and not necessarily evolutionary relationships. And so even though his ideas were not based on these evolutionary relationships, Linnaeus often grouped organisms together in ways that reflected those relationships because of things such as like morphological similarities and other things like that. And so later on, Charles Darwin then would actually put together his theory of evolution, which is the one that we accept today. So Darwin based a lot of his ideas for evolution on work being done by scientists who were studying fossils. And so the fossils are often deposited in these sedimentary rock layers that are called strata. And so you can see those represented as these bands in this diagram over here. Each band represents a particular strata. And so the fossils in a particular stratum gives information about the kinds of organisms that were alive at the time that that stratum was formed. So scientists began to notice as they were looking at these fossils that the older the stratum, the less similar the organisms were to modern day organisms. So again, going back to this diagram, down here at a if a stratum is deeper in the ground, that means it's an older stratum. So this older stratum with fossils doesn't look anything like the organisms in the more recent stratum, and the organisms down in this older one would look a lot different than the organisms that we would see today. And so the information that was gleaned from the fossil record eventually led Darwin to believe that slow and subtle processes could produce really large amounts of biological change over time. So we also have Lamarck. So Lamarck also had a hypothesis of evolution, but his theory of evolution was incorrect. So Lamarck believed in this concept of use and disuse. So that idea is that the parts of the body that were used really frequently become larger and stronger, while those that were used less frequently actually deteriorate. And we know now that this is not how evolutionary change really takes place. So an example of this would be giraffes stretching their necks to reach the leaves on trees. So he believed that the reason giraffes had longer necks is because while they were alive, they would stretch their necks to be able to reach the leaves on the trees, and the giraffes with longer necks were able to reach more leaves, and so those are the ones that survived. And so he also believed in the inheritance of acquired characteristics. So he believed that evolutionary change could take place in a single generation, which we know today is untrue, and then the changes that were acquired during that single generation could then be passed on to the offspring of that generation. So for example, going back to the giraffes, he thought that if a giraffe was born with a shorter neck, but over time stretched it more and more to be able to reach trees or leaves on taller and taller trees, by the time that individual was of reproductive age, they might have, a pretty decently sized neck, and he thought that that organism would then be able to pass on the length of its neck to its offspring, so that they would also be able to reach the leaves on the taller trees. And again, we know today that evolution takes several generations and a really, really long time for that level of change to actually be achieved. I hope you found this video really helpful. The concepts and information presented in this video will be true no matter what biology class you are taking. However, the concepts presented in this video are referencing material currently covered in Baylor University's coursework. Remember, if you are a currently enrolled Baylor student, we offer free tutoring services in our tutoring center, which is located on the first floor of the Sid Richardson building. You will find all the details you need about these services on our website, which is www.baylor.edu/tutoring. You can schedule a free 30-minute one-on-one tutoring session online, or just drop in during any of our business hours. For more information about our current services, please visit our website. Thank you.